everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. I've got a couple of XD series guns on the table. I've got an XDS by Springfield Armory. This one's chambered in 45. And right behind it, I've got the XDe by Springfield Armory, chambered in 45. And there's very similar. There's a lot of similarities to them, but there's also a couple key differences. And one of the key differences is that the XDS is a striker gun, and the XDe is a hammer gun. So you've got a DASA and your classic striker mechanism. Other than that, there's a lot of things similar. But let's talk about the two and what's different and the same between them. One thing that's the same about both of them is that they are unloaded. From a size perspective, they're similar, but the XDS is smaller. The XDe is 6.75 inches front to back, and that includes the hammer and decocked mode. The XDS is 6.3. From a height perspective, the XDS is 4.4, 5 if you have the 6-round magazine in it, and the XDe is 5, but the smallest mag it comes with is a 6-round. So basically for that extra distance, you're getting another round of capacity. And when you have the extended mag in this one that gives you the 6-round capacity, they become identical at that point. From a thickness perspective, the XDS is a hair thinner, 0.9, as opposed to 1.0. So dimensionally they're close. And if you're really trying to decide one versus the other over size, most likely that's not going to be the driving factor. And of course we've got this grip sleeve on this one that Hammer put on here, and this one was lent to us by a local viewer. So if the grip sleeve were off it, this one would be visibly thinner. But I don't think size is going to make your decision. Really what's going to make you decide between one or the other is the operating mechanism. So if I look at the XDS first, this one is a striker gun, has the split trigger as part of the drop safety mechanism, does have the drop safety piston. The XDS has a grip safety and no mechanical thumb safeties. This one has a decent trigger, a little bit of take up, and kind of a creepy wall, but not really bad, and then brakes. And if I reset it, there's the reset, and then it's almost on the wall. It kind of tends to bounce a little bit, then you're back on the wall, and then a brake. And because it's a striker fired gun, the trigger's the same every time you pull it. Now you can dry fire either one of these guns, but we don't own this one. It was lent to us by a local viewer, and we never dry fire guns that we don't own out of respect for the owner's potential wishes. So I've got it loaded with snap caps for our firing of this one. Now I've chambered around, so I am now in single action mode. The hammer is back. I could, if I want, put the safety on. So now it's similar to a 1911. I'm in that cocked and locked status. Flick the safety off, pull the trigger. I also have the option of pushing the safety down, which will decock it, and set the hammer to this kind of a quarter cock position. You can see the firing pin is actually visible. The hammer's not touching it. So it gives you the ability, now I'm in double action mode. If I pull the trigger here, I've got a kind of a long and heavy, unfortunately it stacks a lot at the end, so as I'm getting close to the end it keeps getting heavier and heavier, and I'm putting additional input into it with no idea what it's going to do. I'm not really a fan of the double action trigger on this, but if I were to cock it or cycle it, now I'm in single action mode. I've got a little bit of take up, very, very light take up. I'm on the wall, just a hair of creep, just a bit, and a nice brake. Single action trigger on this is quite nice. If I were comparing the triggers, I would say the XDe in single action completely destroys the XDS in trigger. And if I had the XDe in double action mode, then the striker trigger of the XDS would slaughter it. So depending on which mode it's in, the XDS is going to kind of be between the two triggers. If you're somebody that likes a DASA, of course this is smaller, thinner, and lighter than most DASAs. And of course if you're used to the striker platform, then the XDS is a good choice. Both of them are reliable guns. Both of them have nice 3-dot sights with fiber optic. This XDS has a green fiber optic, the XDe has a red fiber optic. The sights are metal on both of them, and they're dovetail on both of them so that you can swap them out or adjust them. Both guns have a loaded chamber indicator. This one you can see is up because it's loaded with that snap cap. And one of the features the XDe has that the XDS does not, of course, is the safety, and that safety is ambidextrous. It operates on both sides. And one of the cool features of the safety is that I can have it safe, like a classic 1911, or decock, whichever I choose. And you'll notice the hammer was down, I put the safety on. On this gun, I can put the safety on no matter what mode the hammer is in, whether it's down, quarter cock, or all the way back. And with the safety on, I can cycle it, which a lot of guns with thumb safeties you cannot. Many of the other features are similar. Magazine releases are about the same. Now, one feature that the XDS has that you can't see on this one because we've got this grip sleeve, but these are interchangeable back straps. The XDE does not have that feature. The magazines from the XDS and XDE are interchangeable, except that the 5-round XDS magazine won't fit in the XDE just because it's too short. But any of the other magazines that are long enough can be interchanged between the two guns. So if you have an XDS and you're thinking about picking up an XDE, you can. Overall at the range, we found that in single action mode, I was able to shoot the XDE much better than I was the XDS. And in double action mode, I kind of struggled to keep good aim on it because of the trigger. But interestingly enough, Hammer, when he was firing it, was able to fire the XDS more easily, accurately, than he was the XDE. So a lot of it comes down to what fits your hand and everything else. Now this XDS is a classic or an original. It's not one of the Mod 2, so it has that original, kind of sawtooth texturing, which is actually comfortable to hold. And this has the new grip zone, which would be similar to the Mod 2. We just don't happen to have a Mod 2. So it would have that grip zone texturing with kind of light finger grooves. They're there, and but if they don't fit you, they're not pronounced enough to make it uncomfortable or difficult to hold. Either of these guns is very comfortable to hold. Both have a single slot Picatinny rail, and both of them have proven to be reliable and eat just about anything that we've got. So really, if you're choosing between these, really what you're choosing between is the DASA versus the Striker. If you happen to be, left-handed, this gun will work equally well with this one as far as left-handed, because the only thing that's ambi is the safety on the XDE, and this just doesn't have that feature. The other controls are, left side only for righties. So really, it is going to come down to that. There's a couple variations available. The XDE is available with a laser, but it's available in any color you want as long as it's black. That's the only variation currently. That may change by the time you see in this video. The XDS is available in a number of colors. Flat dark earth, black, the two-tone like you see here, gray. So there's a number of variations of the XDS out there. And MSRP is close. The XDS is $549 MSRP, the XDE is $569 MSRP, and of course you're going to get them less expensively than that. That's just the MSRP. So if you're looking for a good, reliable single stack, these happen to be in 45. They're also available in 9mm. If you're looking for a good single stack, either one of these is going to make a good choice. And if you're interested specifically in one or the other of these, we'll put a link to the full review for each of these down in the description, so you'll be able to find the actual review for whichever one it is you want. It goes into a whole lot more detail. So let's go ahead and get these two things apart so you can see what's different in the internals. Of course, we've got unloaded. Both of them come apart the same way. You lock them back, twist this little arm up, release the slide. On the XDS, you have to pull the trigger to separate the two halves. And then the XDE, same basic thing. It would help if I take the magazine out and get rid of these snap caps. Lock it back. And of course, the locking back does help ensure that the chamber is empty, which of course it is. Flip up the arm, release it. Now, you don't have to pull the trigger on this, because unlike the striker fired where the sear has tension on the firing pin spring, this one doesn't, so it just slides right apart. So let's start with the frame comparison. If it weren't for the fire control group at the different and this hammer sticking out the back, you almost wouldn't be able to tell the two apart. They both got very robust front slide guides and rear slide guides that stagger them a little bit. So you can see that they're really well built, heavy duty. They both have a split ramp, so you've got half on the frame and then there's half on the barrel itself. But they're very, very similar. And again, if I kind of hit the fire control group and asked you to tell me which was which, it'd be hard to do. One of the giveaways is the hump here for the drop safety, and that's back here on this one. But overall, they're very similar. Look at the slides. Again, they're very similar. Drop safety is at the back on the XDE, at the front on the XDS. They both function the same though. Pull the barrels out. Both of them have captive recoil springs. The barrels look nearly identical. Just a minor difference in the moon shape for the recoil spring. Both of them have very nice wide feed ramps, and they're highly polished, and that's the way they come from the factory. And both of them are standard rifling. You can see the standard rifling, well machined, very well done. The barrels overall themselves are actually quite well done. Slight differences in the way that the hoods look and stuff like that, but they've got a very similar locking mechanism. And that's one thing where the XDE departs from your typical DASA. Most of them have more of a 1911 style locking mechanism, but very well done, very good high quality barrels. So I'm going to go ahead and put them together. Now the XDS barrel has ended up in my right hand as I move things around. Drop the barrel back in place, drop the recoil spring in place, line it up. Now, it would help if I got the recoil spring properly in place. Make sure the recoil spring is seated. I'll try that again. Lock it back, drop the lever, back in business. Same thing with this one. Get the recoil spring, make sure it's seated properly. Flip it over, lock it back, drop the lever, and we're back to business. So unlike many DASAs that have complicated disassembly and reassembly procedures, this one doesn't. So disassembly and reassembly is not going to make the difference between the two of them. If you have access to each of these, you might give it a try, see which one you're more comfortable with. Because again, I had a little easier time shooting the XDE well than the XDS, and Hammer was the exact opposite. But beyond that, you could always, of course, whichever one you chose, train through it and get them to do what you want. Doesn't matter which one you pick though, you're going to get a high quality gun at about the same price. You know, MSRP of around $568 for the XDE and $549 for the XDS. So, yeah, price isn't going to make the difference either. If you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe. If you do, remember to click that bell. Check us out on Facebook and Patreon, and have a great day. Thank you.